for
Okay.
folks to join. Welcome. My name is Monica, and I'm so excited to have Jill here today. This is brand new tech for both of us, so you guys are going to get to see us try out this Substack Live feature, but I'm kind of excited by it. It reminds me of back when Facebook Lives didn't suck. Except for our picture quality is so much better because
Right.
cameras have improved since
Yeah.
2015.
Oh man.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
Um, okay, well, it's fun to be doing something brand new with you because I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you, Monica. Thanks, because I still haven't even figured out notes on Substack, but live is a whole like thing. This is
Yeah,
fun.
and it's just yeah, I'm so excited. I hope that you guys enjoy this as much as we are.
Yeah.
Um, Let me tell you, I don't know if the people joining us are people who know you or who know me, but I'm going to start real quick with talking about you and how I know you, so that when we have the recording, anybody who's listening from my Substack will know who you are. So I'm so excited to have my friend and colleague Jill Clifton here. Jill and I met, I a while ago. I don't know when. I don't know when. We couldn't really pinpoint it when we were trying to remember, but we met through Randy Buckley, who does work on values and boundaries, and we both participated in her Healthy Boundaries for Kind People coach and facilitator training. And so I was so excited when I was looking at getting this conversation started, to be able to invite you to do this with me first.
Oh, thank
because
you.
because I feel like we have a shared language around values and what matters to us, and how those are reflected in boundaries, or how boundaries and values intersect and show up with things around wonder and nature and delight and joy. And Jill's background is incredibly rich. She has a bachelor's in sociology and a master's in ocean science. And she did this really cool living on an island thing for a while she was studying on her graduate degree. And Jill is also the creator of Landscape of Mothers, which is both a book and a system and has its own tarot deck. And is there anything I'm missing?
I don't know. I think that covers it. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, it's the big parts. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, thanks, Monica. I'm so like this is so fun to do. And yeah, we've known each other for well, it was definitely pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
That's like my time marker these days. I'm not so great at time. Anyway, it's been a while. And let's see, what do I know about you? Oh gosh. So I know about the Stone Stoop stories and the ways that that is both coaching um like a business thing for you. My words are going to fail me totally because I feel nervous.
Okay. We're here.
Um,
We're
and yeah, so I know that there's like a coaching bit to that, and one of the places that I know we've really like connected personally was through some of the just that small delight in everyday
Yes.
things, and just the appreciation of um, what is here, even amidst the chaos of the world. And yeah, so I know you as both a um, like a fellow like delight follower
Delight seekers.
and through the business coaching that has helped me get very organized because I'm more in the like let's dream things up fit part. That's where I like to be. And yeah, you've given me some legs to walk on, so that's
Oh,
super
thank you.
good.
Well, and you've like brought so many of those dreams into the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was floundering a little bit with like how much like it all felt like it was a whole bunch of different pieces, and it's really coalescing into a beautiful thing. I think of around those shared values, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Let's 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 talk a little bit about that, about um playfulness and delight, and um in something of yours that I read recently, you talked about recapturing our own attention.
mhm.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh gosh, yeah, just I think it's actually been. I know it's easy to say it's just a now thing, but I think it's really been like a long arc of um, social media and politics and things, and the more and more that headlines are these like it's literally about capturing our attention,
Yeah.
and and it's also designed to be very like inflammatory or oppositional or whatever. It's all these like um, it kind of goes after some of the most inflammatory parts of everything. And so a lot of my work, I think, is anchored in that idea of like recapturing our own attention, coming back to our own selves. That was one of those things, like you mentioned the island. Like that was one of the things I learned out there, right? It was in the 90s, so there was no like cell phone coverage or anything. We had some satellite hookup
Satellite
thing.
phones, right?
Yeah. And it ran off of a solar panel and stuff. Anyway, but the thing that happened there for me that made me aware of how much our attention can be captured by other people was just the isolation, right? The solitude. It was
Mm,
me and two other people on this island, and we were doing a job, so I wasn't focused on this idea. But yeah, it sort of handed me back my own attention without me
yeah.
even realizing how much other people's voices were running. And I think, you know, social media and stuff just amplifies that external
Yeah,
pull.
absolutely. I think, I mean, social media, it, you mentioned headlines, right? And inflammatory things, and so much of what is like data analyzed, whether it's through an algorithm or whatever else, is designed to get strong reactions, right?
Mm.
And because those are the ones that are going to sell those advertising dollars. But I love how you talked about how in the 90s, before we had those outside distractions of social media or news headlines or wherever else on our phones that are like in our computers in our pockets, that you noticed all the other voices around you, when you were on the island, that were already also competing for your attention, right?
Yeah, yeah, just culture, teachings, the ways that we're taught about what's good or correct or right or whatever, and
Yeah,
the things that we get from parents, teachers, uh, religious leaders, whoever's in power and whoever has that place for their voice. And I think, it's kind of, in my opinion, it's high time that we kind of take some of that back.
right.
I mean, good to know what's going on, right? Like always a context, but really recapturing our own attention, I think, is one of those things that's my experience is that it's very soothing to the nervous system when we
Yeah,
can kind of recapture our own attention so that we spend it in the places we really want to spend it.
right. Yeah, I drink espresso in the mornings, and it's a ritual that I do that kind of connects me to time in Italy, and my family there, like in northern Italy, and reminds me to kind of slow down. And I noticed, so I've been doing this. I didn't drink coffee until I was in college, um, in Italy, and then I drank espresso because I didn't speak Italian, and I wasn't going to say no when I went to visit family members, right? Like you drink what they give you. So I acquired a taste for espresso, which is why it's such a potent morning ritual for me. And the so I've been doing this for a very long time, is my point, since 2004, 2003. So more than 20 years. This past like week, maybe past 2 weeks, and I have like a mocha pot, so I make it on my stove. I have a little tiny espresso cup, still from when I went to Italy, like that I bought while I was there. This is the first time that I think like I it's not stuck in my brain from before. So even if I noticed before, what I'm about to say did not stick, right? Over the course of 20 years. I noticed that when I pour the espresso out into the cup, that the coffee, like, it doesn't come out, and I imagine this is true of any liquid that you're pouring. The coffee doesn't actually come out like in a straight whatever. It's kind of like a spiral shape as it comes out. And I feel like that's such an example of both being present to those moments, but right, there always are more moments underneath those, right?
Hmm.
Like 20 years and I've never noticed this. I was like, "Oh, the coffee is spiral. It's so beautiful."
Okay, so before I say anything else, first I have to say I love that I think you're the only person I've ever met who their experience of espresso is to slow down in the morning. So, congrats, because I mean that's a first timer thing for me to hear. Um,
Mm,
but um, but right, yes, to those small moments. I do the same thing with tea when I pour the milk in my tea and then like watch how that thicker liquid like moves around inside the tea liquid. And
yeah,
there's something so deeply satisfying about that to me. Um, and I think it just has to do with the granularity with which you can notice when things aren't so loud that
yeah,
you're thinking about something else while you're doing the thing. It's an indicator that you're being really present to the thing that's there. And also a whole other, like you said, a whole other level of world comes available when you're actually right here in it and there's all these
yeah,
layers underneath. Yeah.
yeah, and something that love about the espresso for myself, it's funny that you say that, because I used to drink way more espresso than I do now. Like, it's really just like a cup in the morning, but I used to have probably like 15 cups worth when I was in my 20s. Is that it only takes like 3 to 5 minutes, right? To like drink my espresso. The process of making it is a little bit longer, but like I put it on, I feed my cats, I open my blinds, and then it's done and ready and I can drink it. But the actual practice is only a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like so often it feels like it needs to be this big, like, oh, let me be present, oh, let me be curious, oh, let me be playful, and it feels large and like
Mhm.
heavy, but the reality is that there are so many ways I think where it can be facilitated in these tiny micro moments almost, right?
Yeah. 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 I think that's one of the things that we share is that awareness of like the granularity of what we're doing can be as nourishing as and like as important as any like big elaborate project, and it can be so much easier to access. I think the biggest struggle there is right like clearing some of the noise away
Yeah,
in order to see it. um, and that one of the principles in landscape of mothers in my work is increment and iteration, right? It's the thing we do over and over, some small piece that we do, it's small step, small steps over and over and over, right? So um I think that feels to me like the way that we grow or change with some kind of stability, with some
yeah,
kind of um groundedness or presence in us.
yes,
Yeah, I apply it to a lot of different things, but yeah, definitely a
yeah,
principle of the small moments and how significant they can be.
yeah. That, and it reminds me, as you were speaking, I was reminded of when with Randy when we talked about like the compass, right? And how when you adjust like just by a quarter of a degree when you're steering a ship, that like you could end up on a different continent,
Right.
um based on that very very small change.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we forget that in a go big or go home world. It's easy to forget how powerful the small things are.
Yeah,
The
and
little decisions we make. Yeah.
yeah, and then I think it's for me at least, it's the combination of the go big or go home and that onslaught of noise,
Mhm.
right? Like it's, I think one or the other would be more manageable, but with both, it's just like, um, I know for me and for you also, nature is like a big piece of your practice. Can you talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit?
Sure. It kind of to tell stories in circles because I like to do that anyway, but this is the way I move. Going back to the island story, um, I think that was also a place where I realized how much the natural world, like I had a real like lived experience before I even heard of like forest bathing or anything like that, or being out in nature or the all the science around calming your nervous system, whatever. That was all post internet.
Mhm.
Pre-internet, to date myself, there were, it was an experience. It was an experience of going into this natural world and following the rhythms of getting up with the sun and going basically to
Yeah.
bed with the sun. And the island was more or less a bird colony, had its plants and stuff, and we were there doing seal monitoring work. So there were seals and turtles, and so just every day, my job was to walk around the periphery of this island. We all had this job, but I shared it with other people. But the job was to walk around the island. We did it. We did surveys twice a day, which means walking the whole island. And so there was this whole period of time of just being really present in nature, and like we were there to observe parts of nature. And so we definitely had a focus where there was like a job to do. And then also though, at some point, like the rhythms of all of it just got so soothing that I think I fully understood in my body the way the rhythms of the natural world were helpful for having somewhere else to settle if you were going to opt out of the like connections to all the noise, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to opt out of the noise if we don't have anywhere to go, right? Because then it's free fall, right? Like if I don't
Yeah.
have that, what am I attached to?
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
for me, the natural world was the ground.
I mean, and for the attachment piece and belonging is such a like core part of human nature, right? Like that we want to
Yeah,
belong somewhere. So if you don't have something to attach yourself to connect to anchor, free fall, man. You said that and I was like, yes, that is the thing.
yeah.
That is the thing. Um, where would you like to go next? I feel like there's so
Yeah.
much
I
space.
know. I saw that
Right?
too. I was like, wow, there's like 10 different avenues this conversation could take now. I think the thing that feels really present to me right now, and especially in the world that we're in, one of the other sort of like premises of my landscape of mother's work is reimagining our relationships. So
Mm,
because of my experience on the islands and with these animals, you can really see clearly how everything depends on everything. I mean, the island was like a
yeah.
mile long and half a mile wide. It was a really manageable landscape to get to know, to really feel, to notice the interactions on the island. And it was nature, like things died and whatever. It wasn't
Mhm.
a glorified or sanitized version. It was very real. And also, you could tell, like, it was kind of, I think, where I learned the idea that animals and plants, the natural world was really my kin, right? That
Yeah.
we were related. And I think that was part of that ability or that when I fell into really being able to roll with the rhythms of nature more and the noise stopped, then what happened was my kinship was not in the noise anymore. It was in this
Yeah.
natural world.
Yes.
And so then I started to really feel held. I even made friends with spiders, which was a big, big deal because these were huge. And I didn't like little ones when I left the mainland. And so it's a whole thing, like
Yeah.
even spiders. Um, but so there was a connectedness, and I think that orientation towards the natural world as kin is an indigenous idea, shared by indigenous systems across the world. And I think that it's an important direction to return to as we're trying to figure out what is this better world that comes next. And just by next, I mean whatever happens after us, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like I learned sort of earth honoring without
Yeah.
coming from that intellectual framework. It was more like, oh, here I am, and here's the albatross chick that sometimes walks into the kitchen and like, snaps his beak at you, and there's the fairy tern out in the tree that falls, and we go and pick him back. He's the baby, and you go put him
Yeah.
back. We called him Junior, and put him back in the tree, and like, so there was just this like we were deeply intertwined
Yeah,
with the
like,
natural world.
really, like, really in community is what I'm, like is, like, jumping at when you're describing it,
Yes.
like, you're in relationship with, right? Like, you're interacting with them and impacting each other's lives in, like, very concrete, tactile ways that I think many of us don't get unless we have very specific instances where it's accessible to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be more accessible through our intention, right? And through our perspective. And so one of the things for me about Landscape of Mothers is starting to try to more intentionally or directly find our connections with nature, and intentionally step from that space of like, okay, well, what does it mean that I'm in this place with these plants and with these animals
Yeah.
if I perceive them as my kin, if I
Mhm.
perceive them as related to me in some way, and that our well-being is interconnected,
Yeah.
then what does that mean? And um, yeah, so I think that's for me, that's like the beginning place of where we start
Yeah.
to shift perspective, or the small things that we can do every day to be like, how connected am I to this place?
Yeah. What's your favorite way to remind yourself that you're connected to a place?
Um, to just be in it. I mean, it's amazing how much time I can spend in my house, especially because like I identify as a writer, right? Like I have a book and
Yes.
things, so I guess I am a writer. Um, and so it's easy to sit in my house and type on my computer, and just literally even just walking outside and laying under the tree or watching the clouds move in the sky or something. Just lately, the fascination in my yard has been that we have a quail family, and the babies right now are like this big. They're shorter than the grass that they run through. And so every day we've been like camping out. My
Right.
husband my husband got a long camera lens, and he's trying to capture them, but because they run through the grass, no baby pictures are to be had yet. But they're just so the fascination is the quail family in our yard.
Right. Oh,
Um, yeah, so it's anything. I mean, I'm friends with the trees in my yard.
yeah.
We have different, like I have a liriodendron, a maple, and a birch, and we have different conversations. I
Yeah.
mean, it can sound. I think it's easy for it to sound sillier, like back maybe just because I have the longevity of memory back into the late 1900s. Where like tree hugger was a derogatory term
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I've even taken it a step further now in my
Yeah.
rebellion years of like, I don't know, the birch is my friend. We talk about things, and we talk about certain things which are different than I talk about with the liriodendron, and
Yeah.
the maple holds me differently. And yeah, so I mean, I think even super simple, just intentionally being like, "Oh, I'm setting this down and walking outside,
Yeah.
and then just allowing the things that show up. Oh, like there's the sun, or oh, there's the shade. That's nice. Or,
Right.
oh, there's the quail family, or whatever. What I found is that no matter where I am, there's always something. You
Mhm.
know, my daughter lives in Seattle. You can go into the city, and there will be a miraculous dandelion growing in the cracks of the sidewalk that
Yeah.
has plenty to offer in terms of um, a connection for growing, and b the ways that can be a struggle, or that your space feels really tight and small.
Yep.
So I really think the biggest thing we can do is like intentionally take the pause and walk outside.
Yeah. Yeah,
or
no,
even sit next to an open window, like the air is enough too.
I was gonna say, for me, I at this point right now in what's happening in, like, my life and everything that's going on, I don't get outside as much as I'd like, but I follow the sun through my house. So, like,
Mhm.
I start in the back room in the mornings and then in the afternoons, and I have because of my cats, like, I have windows with a lot of stuff to entertain them outside. Um, and so I have bird feeders that are, like, very visible through the window,
Mhm.
specifically. So I do a lot of watching the birds or the squirrels. And the other week I was watching, um, I have a family, I think, of mockingbirds that's living around me that has realized that they can come to the suet that I have hanging, and I learned a new fact that I didn't know, um, because this, like, full-size mockingbird was out there sitting next to the food, squawking, like, not touching the food, just "Meow, meow, meow." And then I watched, and this other mockingbird came. I'm sure you're nodding because you know where I'm going with this. Um, and the mockingbird was making noises, like the other bird was making noises, and they looked like the same bird, right? I know they weren't, but like they were the same size, they were the same coloring, and I watched, and the second bird reached into the suet, grabbed a chunk, and I'm on my sofa, so I don't know, maybe like 20 feet from the bird feeder. So I don't have like a great view, but I can see it well enough. And I'm not moving because I don't want to startle them. And there's that so like it takes the suet and then it feeds it to the bird. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like what is happening here?" And I spoke with a friend of mine who explained to me, and they're like a bird watcher, like a bird watcher, right? They lead bird walks for teens and for adults. And I was saying, like, it was such a weird behavior. And they said, yeah, well, it definitely was probably a juvenile. So like not an old enough bird yet. But she explained to me that with birds, there's like a thing on in their brain, I guess. This is how she explained it to me. And it like is like don't eat unless the parent feeds you because you don't know what's safe until at some point that switches off. And so like you could have like a praying mantis or a worm in front of the bird and they're going to squawk at it but not touch it. And I haven't quite figured out yet like what the application of that is. Uh Apart from just being something that is so interesting, right? Like, how and again, like, I'm used to seeing babies, like, birds that look like baby birds, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But this was not that.
Well, baby birds, most birds fledge at 3/4 of the size of their parents, so they tend to look
Yeah, that's what she told
pretty
me.
much the same. Yeah. It's why people will say sometimes like, "Oh, you never see baby birds." And usually what they mean is songbirds, because right, you do see
Mm,
baby ducks and things like that. But
yeah.
yeah, the songbirds fledge at this full size or nearly full size. And usually, yeah, the way to tell baby birds from their parents is that they're the ones sitting out there just yelling, "Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me." Unfortunately, I've been watching a similar and different story unfold in my front yard where we've had a blackbird feeding a cowbird baby.
Oh,
So
yeah.
cowbirds are nest parasites, so they lay their eggs in someone else's nest, and then that someone else, in this case the blackbird, feeds, raises, and
Yep.
feeds the cowbird baby. So, been watching that play out. But yeah, but they're doing the same thing, right? They're sitting there and they shake their wings often and they make sounds. And yeah, it's this interesting thing of like the thing that stands out to me about it is sort of like, oh, right, that visceral learning,
Yeah.
right? That you don't eat until your parent feeds it to you so that you know out in the world where they got the thing from and what it is and and then the texture of it. So they could bring it back to the nest, but you're still not really learning
Yeah.
where to get it, right? And so once they're out and you're traveling around with your parent, they're saying, here's where you find food, and this is what's in that environment that you eat.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that actually, as that physical experiential learning, right?
Yeah,
It's the parent didn't tell you. I mean, they kind of told you when they brought it to the nest. They said, like, this
right,
is a thing you eat, but you're like, yeah, but where it just came from out there. Like, how
right.
am I supposed to know where to get that? Yeah. So there's this more depth of learning when it gets a context and everything. And
Yeah,
so for me, that's what stands out. And I think that probably points to the things I've been thinking about lately in my mind and in my world. And I think someone else could watch that and have a different experience and have a different, like, where your attention goes into that little
yeah,
story might be different. And that probably reflects some meaning about or something for what your brain is working on.
yeah,
Or
what's going on in our own lives. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, no, I love it. I just love it, Jill. Um, hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about this in a lot of granularity.
Yeah, me too.
um, because it's been decades since I had that job, obviously. Oof, that just feels crazy to say. Anyway, um, and yeah, and I just have a tendency for, like, pulling things kind of down into their component parts. And so um, yeah, I think yeah, and the natural world, I don't know, even and personally, like, the natural world just helped me so much when people were hard. Like,
Yeah,
that the people that were around me had a lot of that noise and um or whatever, had their ways of doing the things that they were doing, and I was struggling to find a connection that was some that had some kind of, like, life affirming nature to it. And the natural world was a place where definitely I got held when I
yeah,
kind of dropped out of some of those relationships and stepped back from things. And those all kind of happened at that same time. Yeah. So I have a real affinity for the things in the natural world and, um, not only for their science, but their relation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the relationality is for me what is the biggest anchor.
Mhm.
Yeah,
How do you feel like that relates to your, joy or your,
yeah,
like, daily work, like,
yeah. Well,
daily joys?
so I think there's a couple ways that it anchors in. Part of it, I think, goes back to that stone soup story about having all of the different things that go into the pot, right? And like things that you don't necessarily like think that you have to give, right? Right? Because you're hoarding or like squirreling away like a squirrel, like putting their nuts everywhere. Um, but then when you bring it together, it feeds,
Mhm.
right? But for me, like on a very practical, tactile, non I hate the word woo. Like I hate that word so much, but I don't know what other word to use that speaks to like common parlance. So I'm going to use it even though I hate it. Um, like in a very tactile, practical way, uh, taking my kitchen scraps out to my compost and like putting the stuff into the compost and seeing what comes out. I planted like native plants in my very small townhouse, like suburbia yard, and have all these signs up because in the state that I live in, HOAs can't go after native gardens. Like there were some really moneyed people who fought that fight, uh, and for like 7 years and won that right, like built into our state legislature. And so I have all of these plants outside now, and I have um, a younger relative who is staying with me, and we'll go out and we will like talk about the plants and what's edible, and kind of
Mm,
like the properties of the plants and noticing like what's happening in the dirt
mhm,
and the bugs or the the ants, lots of ants right now, like seasonally, lots of ants. Um, because my yard is like 3 years, I'm on the third year of this switch to the native and perennials. Watching like the different bees come for the different pollens and flowers, or a few years ago, I got a bench as a gift, like a little metal bench that kind of glides. So like sitting out there at night, um, but it's very tactile, right? For me, um, I don't get to go walk in the places where there's like water or trees as much as I'd like to right now, but that space outside, and for me, the space in the front and having like the water for the animals and the bird feeders, and I have some pinwheels, is really about like honoring the natural space around and saying like, yes, this is my space, but let's make it something that is nourishing all of the different species that I'm sharing this space with, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I just like I love it so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if that completely answers your question, but that's what jumped to mind.
Yeah, I think that speaks to the well, A, that being held, right? You're saying
Yeah,
you kept saying tangible, like I could touch it. And so it was an experience you were having rather
yeah,
than like a thought. And we spend so much time in
yes,
thoughts. Like having
yes,
a real experience is a an important like touchstone back to ourselves, right?
yeah,
And then I also hear like the value underneath that of of some of nourishing the other things, not just you, but nourishing the
yeah,
bees and the ants and the plants. And by the way, for anybody who hasn't just sat down and watched ants, I highly recommend it. They're absolutely amazing. The
yeah,
whole thing. Anyway, just a plug for ants. I don't want them in my kitchen, but
right,
they're
right.
amazing. Just amazing.
And like
Yeah, so
ant
the
ant bites hurt, man.
oh, you have those kind.
They're not, I'm not even talking about big ones. Just every once in a while, if I'm like working and I stumble into
Oh yeah.
where they're living accidentally, right? And like I get it. They're like, you're in our space. Oh my God, there's this giant hand. And I'm like so tiny, like protect the babies, protect the eggs, whatever. And they're not big. They're like little teeny tiny black ones, the ones that I'm talking about. And they're not like we I don't know, carpenter ants, I think we call them. They're like they have like the thick
Yeah.
bodies. These are just like teeny tiny, like grain of rice size. They're not big, but man, every once in a while when I stumble onto them accidentally and then I like move away and I think that I'm clear and then I feel a bite and I look and sure enough, there's an ant on that part of my body. Really strong mandibles, man.
They're super impressive. I really, I just answer a whole like thing on their own. Yeah. And the like the audacity of that or something, right? To be like, I mean, think about something where you're this size relative to
Right.
like
That's
this.
yeah.
Or what are you gonna do? Bite it?
It's
And
like
actually it hurts when they do it. So just it's crazy. Anyway, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
I think I know we're going over time, so I want to like honor
Mm,
that and respect that.
yeah.
Um, all of this is and like what we're talking about with nature and everything. That's why I'm so excited for your course that's coming up, the email course. Um, can you just say like a line about it so that I can make sure that my friends, my subscribers all know what it is? I'm taking it and I can't wait because I feel like at this stage in my life, I have like a pretty good connection to nature and like there's so much around the like wonder that I feel really good about, but I really feel like it's for me, like I really have a need for that like daily 1 to 2 minute thing that is like a very small task that I can do. And that was what really appealed to me about signing up for the course. course, the email series.
Mhm.
Um, because I like having that prompt was really exciting for me. Can you just share
Mm.
lines about it? Like about the workshop? The
Yeah,
se-
so the class is called Mother Nature, and it's about building a nourishing relationship with the natural world. And the it's going to be like 10 daily emails, and then there will be an optional but invitation to an online gathering live on Wednesday, June 17th. So this is all coming up. It starts June 3rd. Um, and the idea is a really like kind of what we've been talking about. Knowing that there's somewhere that we're going when we're kind of releasing some of the our connection with the noise,
Mhm.
and finding our intention with it, and doing that in a really granular way, so that as we start to move out into the world, we can easily repeat, kind of dropping into ourselves and letting our attention go where it goes, and
Yeah.
noticing what seems important or significant to us. And then we have everything we need to start building relationship with the
Yes.
natural world in a different way. Um, so to Yeah, so it's just that idea of deciding at some point that the perspective shift is something that's worthwhile and important, and that taking small steps in that way, and these are all little things, um, you know, crazy tiny. There's a written part, there's an audio part. So for anybody who's like, I don't want to read a thing, you just put it in your ears and spend your 3 to 5 minutes probably doing whatever the guiding thing is of the day. And then there's a little bit about like why that's important, why when we do
Yeah.
that thing, like why when we pause that's an interruption or whatever. And um yeah, so it really granularly through a few minutes a day, and then there's plenty of other stuff in there. So for people who want to have more time or want to go deeper or want allies, there's like animal allies in there. There's landscape of mothers connections,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But really, I think even just the audio 5 minutes a day,
Yeah.
really thinking out like how to build a relationship with the natural world, because that's something that our over culture, our larger culture doesn't teach us, is
Yeah.
how to be that cultural level relationship with nature is extraction and resource. And this is, how do I shift it into relationship? And so super easy to carry with you for the rest of your days.
I love that. Where can people find you on the internet aside from Substack?
Yeah, my website is landscapeofmothers.com. Um, and I'm on Instagram a little bit. I don't love Instagram. Mostly I'm writing here on Substack, and my body of work stuff is
Yeah.
accessible through various links on my website. Yeah.
Cool. So Instagram, so, but here
Yeah.
for your
Here.
newsletter, body of work around like Landscape of Mothers and the Landscape of Mothers website.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
between Substack and the website, it's pretty much everything. It's all the things on the website, and then a lot of that foundational grounded information on Substack. So,
Yeah. Do you still have videos on YouTube? I know for a while
oh
you.
yeah. I do. I've been doing less with that lately, but there's a lot of, and they're more specifically landscape of mothers oriented. So that's a system of like 8 archetypes and stuff. So if you like going that direction, yeah, that stuff all the like nitty gritty of landscape of mothers is on YouTube. The channel is landscape of mothers at
Okay.
landscape
And
of mothers.
Landscape of Mothers is not just for people who are parents, right?
Right. When I say mothering, I'm really referring to more that mother nature kind of thing, right? That act that all humans do in various ways and to various degrees, of caring and loving, the ways that we're nourishing and protecting all
Yeah.
life. So humans and things, yes. And the book initially kind of came a little more out of parenting, because that's sort of where it all landed for me, was in parenting. But my kids are now adults, and so it's morphing more into like I'm seeing how what I've really been talking about all this time was less about parenting and more about just how we
Mm,
care and take care and be cared for.
yeah.
So,
Before we end, I just want to ask if anybody who's watching has any questions. Feel free to type them in the chat. That's an option that's available.
yeah,
Um,
what about that? Back to our like, oh yeah, doing this the first time. I forgot that
yeah.
about
We'll
chat.
just we'll just give it a minute to see if anybody has any questions.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, I'm so grateful. Like I could talk about this for hours with you, Jill.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for to you for coming and showing up. And I've known you for so long, and we've had like pieces of some of these conversations, but I don't know that we've covered all of this exact ground um,
Yeah.
in the past.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
so
was
it's
really
been
fun.
so
Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah, it was really fun to. I think we've each talked about, what we were up to,
Yeah,
or we've always had sort of a third focus of like not necessarily you and not necessarily me, but this other thing we're interested in. And this was fun to really like dive into like
yeah,
how our stuff is connected, and yeah,
yeah.
so
We'll have to do it again in the future sometime.
that would be great. I would
Yeah,
love that.
now that we've like both done the tech once.
Right now, I know what that looks like. That's
But
always one of my hurdles, the tech thing. Ugh.
waiting, thinking like, is there going to be a button? Do I have to load a screen? Right. Um,
I'm better with plants and animals than I am with technology.
it's a different sort of oh,
Skill
what's the
set?
word? No, no, no. Like it's a different anima, right?
Yeah.
With tech versus animals and plants. Um, a different spirit.
Yeah. I'm better at talking about you know, um, what cowbirds or baby
Yeah,
birds, begging for food
right.
translates into in the world than I am tech.
Yeah,
So thank you so much
of
um,
course.
for the invitation and for the nudge. And
Yeah. I mean, it
yeah,
was just delightful. Thank you all for
yep,
being here. I am going to end. I think that's what we do.
perfect.
We just hit end. Yeah. Thank you
All
all so
right.
much again for being here, and I will talk to you again soon, Jill.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.